These are the reasons that you would fire your wedding planner. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. My name is Andrea Eppolito. I'm a Las Vegas-based wedding planner, lifestyle expert, and I've committed my life to celebrating life, luxury, and above all else, love. I want to create extraordinary experiences for people who lead extraordinary lives, and I am thrilled that this channel has become a resource for that. Today's topic is a little bit difficult. Over the past few weeks, I have had 3 different brides reach out to me saying, I think I need to fire my wedding planner and I'm not quite sure what to do. This is an incredibly difficult process for a couple and a client to go through. If you are a bride or a groom and you are in this place and you're saying, I think I need to separate from my wedding planner, you are going to go through a number of emotions. You're going to be sad. You're going to be frustrated. You're going to be hurt. And then you are also going to be, in many ways, behind the 8 ball. You've invested time, effort, energy, money into building a relationship with someone who's supposed to be shepherding you through this process, who's supposed to be making it fun, and who is supposed to be the custodian of both your budget and your memories. Figuring out that that's not a good fit can be incredibly hurtful and really difficult. But I will give you this piece of advice. If you truly feel like you are in a bad place, you need to rip that Band-Aid off. You need to accept the fact that you have sunk costs in that there's a very good chance you have made a retainer or paid someone and that money is not going to be coming back to you. But I promise you, it is much smarter to separate early and be able to correct your course than it is to try to muddle through it. Nothing good is ever going to come of that. So here are 3 reasons that you may really want to consider firing your wedding planner. Reason number 1, your wedding planner does not take the time to educate you and to really set expectations. So one of the things that I am deeply committed to doing in the discovery process when we first have a consultation is getting to understand what this couple and what this client is looking for. What are their priorities? And then explaining to them fully and completely with a tremendous amount of clarity what the process is going to be like when you enter into my process. What can you expect when you're working with me? And also setting a realistic expectation for the budget. Now, if you are here on my YouTube channel, if you visited my Instagram, my website, you've seen my work, that work has a production budget of $2,500 to $5,000 per person. Now, I've had clients spend $10,000 per person. I've had clients spend $1,800 a person. Somewhere in that range is a number that my clients feel comfortable with. And it's less about the number and more about the thing that the number buys. It's never about the stuff. It's about how the stuff makes you feel. And the number is just a tool to get us to that place. I specialize in this. But what I have found and what many couples are finding is that a lot of wedding planners don't know how to have these really difficult conversations. And so you as a couple may go to a planner and you'll have inspiration, you'll have pictures, and you'll be saying, this is the look and the feel that I want. This is my budget. And the planner may say like, oh yeah, we can do something, or we can be inspired by that, or yes, we can do that. And they don't actually take you through the process, and they don't give you a realistic expectation of saying, actually, the work you're looking at, the thing that you've fallen in love with, costs this, and this is why. And so when somebody turns around and says, you can have a wedding like one of the ones that look on my website for $75,000, $80,000. Sadly, no, you can't. And so the planner has set the entire relationship up to fail because the entire foundation of the relationship is built on, I'm not going to call it a lie, but a half-truth, a misunderstanding. You cannot create the things you see on a celebrity wedding planner's website or on their Instagram without the resources to do that. So you can't throw a wedding that looks like $1 million if you've committed to spending 80 or 100,000. It's just math and it doesn't work. And so please beware of a wedding planner who overpromises up front, because really what they're doing is they're just saying, I really want the business, I really want the business. And they're saying and doing whatever it takes in order to get you to close. And then once they've got your contract, once they've got your money, now they come back with the bad news of, actually, this isn't going to be in your budget. If you find that that happens within the first 30 days of your experience, you do need to cut the ties and to find somebody else. Now, I'm not saying that the planner's lying to you when they say you can't do this. They're right, you can't. But the problem is they should have said that up front. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you feel like you've had a wedding planner bait and switch you in terms of budget expectation or experience, that's a real clear indicator that you need to separate today. The second reason that you would separate with a wedding planner is if they fail to communicate with you in a respectful, professional, and timely manner. Now, what does this mean exactly? Communication is key. It's the foundation that allows you to do this work together. I actually have a communication and conduct clause in my contract because I want it to be very clear what my clients can expect of me and what I expect of my clients. You are in a situation where a lot of decisions are time sensitive. Booking this photographer, you have to confirm within a certain amount of time. Saying yes to a venue, giving a number of guests. You've hired your wedding planner to guide you through this process. And what I am hearing a lot right now is my wedding planner didn't get back to me. I called and left 2 messages. My wedding planner didn't reach out to me. I've sent emails and she hasn't responded. And in the meantime, I go on Instagram and I see that she's on a ski trip. This, first of all, it pains me to hear it because I think it paints us in such a negative light and it creates this idea that we're either flippant or we're irresponsible. And those of us who are really and truly seriously taking this as a profession and that are committed to it don't behave that way. The conduct and the communication needs to be set early. In that, emails will be responded to within 24 hours. That phone calls will be returned within 24 hours. Now, if you called me in the morning and then you call me 2 hours later and I haven't responded, that's not a legitimate complaint from a couple, because a wedding planner could be in a meeting, a wedding planner could be sick, a wedding planner could be on a plane traveling. 2 to 3 hours and not getting a response, that's not a legitimate complaint. But when you reach out to your wedding planner and you say, I have questions about this, and they ghost you. When you call the next day and say, I wanted to make sure you got my email, and they don't respond. When you email a second time and say, hey, I'm getting nervous, I'm looking for these things and I need these things, and they don't address or acknowledge your communication at all, you must immediately separate. And here's why. There is a chance that the planner simply doesn't have an answer. But that planner needs to stand in the place of being an expert. They need to be able to communicate with you and say, I got your email, I got your voicemail, I am on it, this is what I'm doing, this is the stage we're at, and this is what you can expect. Just being quiet is never, ever the answer, and it's never going to move the needle forward. And you as a client cannot and should not sit there and be worried about whether or not your wedding planner is actually working. Now, we as an industry are also people, and we deserve to have dinner with our families. We deserve to take weekends off. We deserve to take vacations. But it is our responsibility to communicate that with you in advance, to set and maintain clear boundaries. But when you have somebody who simply is not doing their job and is not communicating with you regularly and appropriately, you do need to separate from that person. The third reason that you would separate from your wedding planner is going to be very broad strokes. But what it really comes down to is if there has been a breach of trust. Trust is the foundation of everything that you are going to do together. Trust is the foundation of your relationship with your fiance. It's the foundation of your relationship with your friends. It plays a role at work. In wedding planning, it is so important. You need to know and trust that the person you have hired, that you have invited into your life, absolutely and unequivocally has your best interest at heart. So what would constitute a breach of trust? Not listening to you as you communicate the things that matter. That's a huge breach, because as wedding planners, yes, we are experts in the field and we understand the process, but we are not yet experts on you. And so if you meet someone or you're working with somebody and they have blinders on, or they don't seem to care about the nuances of who you are, that's a breach of trust. Making a decision that means something to you. I recently had a bride call me and tell me that she had told the wedding planner she hired, this is the venue that I really want to book. And the planner gave her a bunch of excuses and kept trying to put it off and put it off and push her in another direction, but wouldn't exactly tell her why. Wouldn't tell her why she didn't think it was a good fit. Wouldn't tell her why there were other opportunities. And ultimately, this bride went and booked the venue directly, circumventing the wedding planner. If you find that you're in a situation where you are really asking and telling your planner, this is who I am, this is what I want, and they are not being completely honest, transparent, or if they simply refuse to do the thing that matters to you, that's a breach of trust. If you find out that your wedding planner is taking commission behind your back. If a wedding planner is going to take commission, I have no problem with that, if that is plainly, cleanly, and transparently shared. But if you find out that it's a sleight of hand, if you find out that there's money being exchanged behind the scenes that you're not aware of, that's a breach of trust. And that's a time where you absolutely have every right to turn around and say, you didn't disclose this to me. And I feel like I'm now being charged more for something that I'm not getting, and I need to separate. Anytime you feel like you are not in a good, you know inside of you that somebody is not operating in your best interest, then you absolutely do need to separate with that wedding planner. Now, let me say this. The best way to separate is on the phone or in person. Nobody wants to be fired or let go on email. I think it's important to actually have a conversation, but I also think it's important to keep it very neutral and unemotional. And so the way that you approach that is, I would like to set up a time to talk. You can do that on email. Make sure that they have the time to listen, hear, and go through the process. Number two, when you get on the phone or you are in your in-person meeting, you need to turn around and very simply say, as much as we went into this with the very best of intentions, I don't believe that we have a successful pathway forward. And here's why. And you can very plainly say, I don't feel like we communicate well. My expectations haven't been met. I think that we are going down a path that I'm not comfortable with because it's not what we originally envisioned, or this very specific thing happened that broke trust for me, and I know that as a client, I can't recover. Please let me know how contractually we need to go about separating. Now, you should have the contract with you. You should have read it. You should have a pretty good understanding in advance of what separating entails. And then your planner should be able to tell you, this is what's going to happen. You'll need to do it in writing. So immediately after the phone call or meeting, you will need to say, as per our conversation on this date and time, we are no longer going to be moving forward with your services. We have agreed to the following. The planner is going to keep the retainer, the deposit, whatever. The following expenses will be paid for whatever it is, and or the following credit will be given back. on a go-forward basis, obviously, I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for your services. Boom, done. Give yourself 24 to 48 hours to mourn the breakup of this relationship, because that's really what it is. Don't jump back in to Instagram. Don't jump back. Don't let your nerves create a situation where you start making decisions based in fear. You want to let the dust settle and then stop. Really sit down and say, what did I learn from this experience? What's important to me in my next relationship with my next wedding planner? And then go into the interview process asking very specific questions and go through the contract process, making sure that you contract the things that matter to you. In this case, complete and total transparency, the setting up of expectations, a realistic budget and what that budget buys you, communication and conduct, and what you consider to be a breach of trust. We all have that line that we can't cross, and that should be in the contract for both the wedding planner and for you as a client. Now, I certainly hope that you book a wedding planner that you absolutely love and that you never, ever, ever have to find yourself in this situation. But if you do, I hope this video has given you the tools to allow you to move through it and come out in a much better place on the other side. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you hit the subscribe button, the notifications, so that you never miss anything. I will see you next week celebrating life, luxury, and above all else love. Thank you for joining me.